Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. Welcome to Reality Buzz TV. Listen, you guys, I do appreciate you guys supporting this channel. And if you are watching here without subscribing, go free nje ukusubscribe. Yazi God, nifana nabantu abangayiko collect i-grant be free. Yabona? Subscribe. So listen, you guys, I want to talk about this video that was posted on Podcast About Nothing. That is supposed to be an episode about a follow-up on the interview that was done by Usne, okay? Our queen of reality shows, okay? Listen, you guys, I don't care what you say. I'm not understanding people winning awards all throughout this year, and I haven't seen a single award being given to Usne. Okay, I need somebody to organize reality show awards that are really going to award people that have contributed so much to reality shows, and I need somebody to give Usne an award because she deserves it. Okay, what happened to that podcast after she did an interview is just an indication for you that Usne is the queen. We might not like how she does the things, okay, we might think Usne needs to be a better mom to her kids and all of that, but when it comes to the reality show, Usne is the queen of reality shows. In fact, you guys, if they ever removed Usne from Ingane System, I don't know if I would be excited about continuing to watch the show. Maybe I'll continue watching it because some of you will still be expecting me to review the show because, of course, I review shows that you guys like and I also like. But I know that if Usne is not part of that show, I'm not going to be excited about Ingane System, okay? Because I feel like she contributes a lot. She also has been exploited on Uthando Nesimbu, you guys, because they have used Usne on Uthando Nesimbu. There are episodes in certain seasons of Uthando Nesimbu where you know for sure they wouldn't have an episode without Usne because they would be exploiting Usne's story. They've even gone as far as exploiting things that are very, very personal to Usne. Usne, the first time that she admitted that she was as a child, she admitted it on the show. She had to deal with that on the show. She had to deal with her father's reaction to that on the show, Macele's reaction to that on the show. She even had to go for therapy session, okay? Usne falling pregnant for the third time was on the show. In fact, you could see when she was sitting down and Macele was asking her about the pregnancy that she had no idea that that is what they were going to talk about. And they still took that part and put it on the show. So Usne has contributed even more than some of the wives on Uthando Nesimbu have contributed to the show. I say that she has been exploited because I don't believe that Usne is being paid for Uthando Nesimbu. I think they did say that Uthando Nesimbu only pays the adults, it pays the wives, and it pays Ubaba Wab, okay? And then Ingane Nesimbu pays the older kids. It means that even if the younger kids are appearing, but they're not getting paid from Ingane Nesimbu, and they're not getting paid from Uthando Nesimbu, which is wrong, you guys, because you are supposed to pay the kids when they make appearance on the show. So she did this interview, you guys, which went well. It was like the best thing that they did for their podcast, because even for us to know that there is a podcast called Podcast About Nothing was because they did an interview with Usne. And the interview went amazing, you guys. I think they're close to like 400,000 views at this point, if not more, you know. And I think that with this video that they've posted, it's probably going to, you know, even expose the episode to more people, you guys. And I am not against the fact that this guy decided to do this follow-up video where he is talking about the drama that took place between the episodes, because apparently the Mselegu production company, the ones that are producing Ingane System, they were not happy with the fact that Usne had done this interview. And this guy received calls, even things that are close to threats in terms of him releasing the second part of the interview, because this was after they released part 1. And they gave us a trailer for part 2, but they had not released part 2. And then, you guys, I think a few days later, they released part 2. But a lot took place between part 1 and part 2, and them making a decision to release the episode because they were told not to, even threatened with the lawyers, you guys. Okay. Now, when it comes to the way that he tells a story of what happened between the episodes and how he was approached to actually give them the second part of the episode so that they can decide what he can air on his podcast, I feel like, you guys, I'm not hearing anything mentioned about Musamseleko, okay? And also, I'm not hearing anything being mentioned about MaKhumalo. But I feel like at the back of my mind, because there were things that were said about MaKhumalo, and also MaKhumalo is part of production, I imagine that even if she wanted to also be the one to approach the podcast and say, listen, you're not supposed to add this episode, maybe she took a back seat because, of course, you guys, she did not want it to look like it's her, okay? And I'm not sure if Musamseleko also would be the one to be in support of them doing that, but he is also part of production. And I think that if he wanted them to leave the issue alone, and he wanted them to leave Usne alone, he would have said, guys, listen, Usne went on an interview, it's done, let's just leave it, because now it's going to look like we are trying to control Usne. Usne has a right to tell her side of the story. Usne has a right to tell people how she feels. Maybe she did it at the wrong time, but it was like one episode that was left of Ingane's Temple before it was over, and they are saying she's not supposed to do it while the show is running. Okay, they could have just even asked the guy to be like, listen, don't release the episode until after Ingane's Temple is done. Okay, now I feel like behind the scenes, they must have supported the idea of stopping that podcast, but they didn't want to take the front seat. So the way that this guy tells the story is that Umpumelelo was the one that took the front seat, and some lady that he says that he's not even sure who the lady is, but the lady claimed that he worked for DS TV. Okay. Now, you guys, with all of this, you guys, of course, we don't know what's on the contract. One thing we know for sure is that Usne says that she wasn't aware that she wasn't supposed to do the podcast. And also, you guys, I'm not understanding it because Abongo has done a podcast, okay? I know she did it in between seasons, but a week later after Sne did the podcast, Umpumelelo went and did a podcast, and he has done a number of podcasts, in fact, okay? Mseleko himself has done a podcast. MaKhumalo and Umpilo did a podcast as well. They did an interview together. It's here on YouTube. So I'm not understanding why they will be trying to control Usne that much. Also, you guys, if you watch that interview, Sne told no lies. You know how we know Sne told no lies? Because Sne would say negative things about herself too. Sne sat there and told us that, guys, listen, I haven't been a good mother to my kids. I haven't been a good mother to my Samgelo, okay? I have taken Samgelo's grant and went and drank it. Who wants to say that about herself, okay? So it makes me feel like she wasn't sitting there wanting to make other people look bad, but she was there telling the truth, okay? People are just uncomfortable with the fact that Sne told us the truth as to what's going on in the household. If anything, them reacting the way that they reacted tells us Sne was right. Sne was right about MaNgwabe. Sne was right about MaKhumalo, because if she wasn't right, what are you upset about? Because you've got the next season of it, Uthando Netembu. You can just sit down and have a conversation and tell us that Usne did not tell the truth. Or you can go to another podcast and tell us that Usne did not tell the truth. It makes me feel like Sne was right about MaKhumalo and the MaNgwabe situation. Also, guys, listen. Sne's issue with MaNgwabe no MaKhumalo is that they are not really acting like her mothers. The people that act like her mothers are, or who are her mothers, are Umayeni no Macele. MaNgwabe and MaKhumalo are not. Now, with them not speaking to her because she says, basically, you're proving what Usne said to be true, because basically, if I've done something wrong with my mother, the first thing that I'm going to experience when I go home right now is that my mother is going to be, what is happening with this? Because that's what mothers do. Umama manje is not going to give you silent treatment, guys. Okay, umama uzokutshela ukuthi no, what you did was wrong. Okay, I love you. I am your mother. I love you. If you are saying you are sleeping in the house without any food, how am I supposed to know if you don't come to me as your mother and tell me what you know? Why are you going to on a podcast and telling strangers that next time just tell me if you need food in the house and you don't have food in the house, call me. I'll give you food. Okay. Or you can just say, listen, the role situation, I might have overreacted, but that wasn't something that you should have gone and told strangers because we are family here. That's what a mother would do. Okay, the fact that Usne is saying that now abasamkhulumisi, it proves exactly what Usne was saying, that the two of them are not her mothers and they don't act as such, because they are acting like they are her siblings now, because they are upset about the fact that she did an interview and didn't say good things about them. Now they're not talking to her. I'm like, guys, you are proving this lady right, okay? Snell was right about MaKhumalo MaNgwabe, guys. It pains me so to say it, but she was, you guys, because if they were her mothers, they would have just sat down and had a conversation with their daughter. Okay, the fact that they are not doing that, instead bamqumbela Sneh, means that Sneh was right. These women are not her mothers, or do not act like her mothers, you guys. I do like the fact that Sneh stood her ground, okay, because it does sound like she was going through a lot. You can hear from the phone, it was a lot of stress. There are voice recordings that she sends to the podcast to say, this is what I'm going through. They are upset with me. They even were trying to send messages to this guy through Usne, and they would say Usne must pretend that the messages were sent by her to this guy to tell this guy that he must not release the episode, okay? And Usne will tell this guy, they are saying I must send you this message. Guys, I thought that is so gangster of Usne. I was like, yes, she would send the message to him and said, and then after that, the one message where they were telling the guy what he must not release the episode and all of that, Usne sends a recording to say, listen, release that episode. Release the episode. Okay. I was like, that is so gangster. Okay. I like it, you guys. Listen, I've always been a supporter of Usne, but I have been very honest to say Usne is not perfect. Like, all of us are not perfect. Usne is not perfect. And sometimes she frustrates the hell out of me. But I do feel like the things that she has told about that family, you guys, are true in terms of them treating her a certain way. Because how are the other siblings allowed to do interviews and she's not allowed to do the interviews? And I feel like even the threats, because she says they even threatened to remove her from the show. I was like, these people don't know their own workers, okay? You know, the one person where when they're not at work, nothing gets done because this person knows everything that's going on in the office. That is Usne. If they remove Usne from that show is dead, because Vuyo is not there on the show. So obviously we're not going to have a Vuyo versus a Tirelo situation. That is gone, okay? Now, if you remove Usne, what are we going to have? Abongo, who's always been like, Kwenzakalan. Abongo, that's all she does, okay? Guys, I'm confused. Kwenzakalan. There is Abongo on the show. The whole season 1, the whole season 2, that's all Abongo did. Kwenzakalan, okay? And understand Kwenzakalan, that's all Abongo does, okay? And then Ulwandle is always amantombazane, okay? And then when the amantombazane are there now, akasakwazi ukukhuluma, there is Ulwandle, okay? And then Umpilo is all like, istima sam, guys, istima sam, that's all Umpilo does. What kind of show are we going to watch? Okay, we're going to watch Mpumelelo with Utirelo. Okay, fine, we like Utirelo, but with who? Another girlfriend that is new that we don't even know if we're gonna like. Like, that show without Usne is nothing. So what she says on this video, you guys, Usne, is that, by the way, she's not on the podcast, they are over the phone, okay? What she says, Usne, is that she is going to be on the next season, but they did consider, you know, canceling her from the show. But she says, listen, I'm going to be in the next season, but what I'm not going to do is give them content. I was like, yes. Good. Okay. I want to be Usne's agent at this point. I want to produce Usne at this point for Ingane Zestembo, because yeah, if they're not going to appreciate you, because guys, at this point, Usne should be the one that says, listen, yeah, I'm gonna do the next season, but this is what I want. This is the pay I want. This is how I want to be treated on this show, because she is the queen. Usne should not be paid the same amount as the other kids are paid on that show, because we know that that show would be nothing without Usne. And if you remove her from the show, you are taking a big risk, because that show will be boring, Okay, so I'm wondering how the next season is going to be like when she says that she's not going to give them content. She's going to be on the show, but she's not going to give them content. And I feel like the treatment that she's getting from this from their family, you know, I feel like, yeah, do that, because then they're upset about you just going on a podcast talking about your life. On that podcast, you guys, Sneh talked about how she grew up, how she lost her mother. She talked about just her life as a mother herself, having her kids, how she ended up with the 2 kids, her boyfriend. And then she talked about her relationships with the mothers that are supposed to be her mothers. That was her truth, okay? Was she supposed to lie? Why, or was she supposed to give us the boring interviews that the other siblings give us, where when they are asked about their mothers, they're like, I don't want to talk about it. That's why all of Mpumelo's interviews are boring, because all of the interview, he says the same thing and he's not being honest, and we can pick up the lies. The only reason we want to hear from Usne, because out of all of the siblings, she is the only one that seemed to be telling the truth. So for me, you guys, I feel like the conclusion is that if I had any doubts about what Usne said about the 2 mothers, MaKhumalo MaNgwabe, those doubts are gone. I feel like everything she told was true, because I think the only thing I was feeling like was that it's possible that she is interpreting izinto ngendlela yakhe, but that's not how they meant to be to her, you know. So now the fact that as the mothers, Bagasne, Bona herself, are not talking to Sne right now because of what she said in an interview, I feel like that in itself shows me what type of mothers they are to Sne. Because I feel like if I say something that my mother doesn't like and I go home, the first thing she's going to do is call me and say, what the hell were you saying about me? What's the problem? Are we having issues? Of course, she's not going to be speaking English, okay? But I'm just saying, okay, as a mother, it's a strange thing to give your daughter silent treatment because they said something that you didn't like. You're supposed to address it with your daughter, and also you're supposed to get an understanding. Clearly, you don't think that I love you as your mother. So what can I do better? Okay, I'm upset about the fact that you went and told strangers things that you could have spoken to me about. But let me find out how I can do better as a mom. Okay, because I am your mother. I guess that's what they're trying to tell us, that all of them are Sne's mom. And Usne is saying only 2 people here are acting like my mother. So if they wanted to prove that they are Sne's mom, they would not be giving her silent treatment. Into yokuthi MaKhumalo MaNgwabe abasamkhulumisa uSne proves exactly what Usne was telling us, which is that they are not, they don't act like her mom. Okay, so this video is about me saying that now I do for sure feel like Usne told us the truth about MaKhumalo MaNgwabe. Okay, unless they're going to come out here and tell us what Usne is lying about the fact that they are not talking to her right now. Guys, it's a lot, but listen, they must not dare touch my Sne, okay? Angifuni nje ngosne. Nhlobo, because I do feel like as much as Usne has a crazy life and all of that, she has been exploited on both the shows, okay? If anything, they should be paying her more, okay? Because one thing that we know for sure, okay, maybe I'll say this one in the next video. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. Please like it before Pumegona, share it with your friends, with your family, and even with strangers. Nginethanda kakhulu.